In the farthest corner of the whispering woods, there lived a small rabbit named Remy. He had soft gray fur, big ears that drooped when he was tired, and a heart much larger than his tiny body. Remy lived in a cozy burrow under the roots of an old chestnut tree, where his grandmother had once told him stories of how the forest used to sing with life. But that was a long time ago. Now the forest was quiet. Too quiet. The sun had scorched the earth that year, burning away meadows and drying up the streams. The once joyful chatter of birds was replaced by silence. Leaves curled in on themselves. Trees stood still like mourners at a funeral. And the animals, Remy's neighbors, his friends, were beginning to vanish. First, it was the bees, then the butterflies, then the chipmunks. One by one, families packed what little they had and left in search of food and water. Some didn't make it. Remy stayed. He didn't have much, just a patch of earth behind his burrow, a rusted watering can, and a pouch of seeds his grandmother had left him. "You never know when the world will need growing," she used to say, pressing the seeds into his tiny paws. One morning, as the wind whispered like a sigh, Remy woke to find a squirrel curled up at his doorstep. Her name was Lila. "I haven't eaten in 3 days," she whispered, eyes dull. I didn't know where else to go. Remy looked at her and made a decision. "I'll grow a garden," he said. Lila blinked. "Here. But the earth is too dry. Nothing grows anymore." Remy didn't answer. He simply walked to the back of his burrow, knelt on the cracked earth, and began to dig. That night, he planted the seeds: carrot, lettuce, sunflower, strawberry. He didn't know if they'd sprout, but he planted every one. The next morning, he woke early, collected dew in a leaf, and poured it gently over the soil. For days, nothing happened. But Remy didn't stop. He poured every drop of dew he could find onto the soil. He sang the same lullabies his grandmother once sang to her seeds. Lila sat beside him, trying to believe. Then one morning there was green, a tiny sprout, then 2, then 10. It was slow, but it was something. Lila wept. "You did it," she said. "No," Remy said softly, brushing the dirt off his paws. "We did." Word spread. A raccoon named Theo came with his little sister. Then a hedgehog, a family of birds. A badger with an empty basket. One by one, animals returned, not because they were sure, but because they hoped. Remy welcomed every one. He gave them seeds, taught them how to care for soil, how to whisper gently to the earth. And slowly, the garden behind his burrow turned into something extraordinary. Bright orange carrots pushed up through the ground. Fat strawberries dotted the bushes like rubies. Sunflowers stretched to the sky, swaying with pride. But Remy didn't stop there. He helped Lila start a garden by the riverbed, showed Theo how to compost. He helped the birds plant berries in the treetops. The forest, once silenced by drought and despair, began to hum again, softly at first, like a shy melody returning to memory. One evening, as the sun melted behind the hills, Remy sat beside Lila under a blooming apple tree they had planted together. "I thought the forest was lost," she said, watching a butterfly dance through the air. Remy smiled. It wasn't lost. It was just waiting for someone to believe in it again. But the peace didn't last. One day, dark clouds gathered. A cold wind blew through the forest. From the northern cliffs came a group of wild boars, hungry, desperate. Their lands had dried worse than whispering woods. They stormed through the lower fields, trampling plants, tearing up roots. "They'll ruin everything," Theo growled, holding his little sister behind him. Lila trembled. "You have to fight back." But Remy stepped forward, not with anger, not with fear. He held a basket of apples in his paws. "You're hungry," he said gently, standing before the largest boar. "So were we." The boars stared, confused. Remy placed the basket at their feet. "You don't have to take. You can help grow." There was a silence, heavy like the clouds above. Then the largest boar, the one with scars, across his snout, sat down. Slowly, carefully, he picked up an apple and took a bite. His eyes softened. "Teach us," he said. And so Remy did. He taught them to plant, to water, to wait, and in return, the boars protected the gardens, dug irrigation ditches, carried water from the distant cliffs. The animals who once feared them now shared meals and stories. That fall, The Whispering Woods held its first harvest festival in years. Tables made from fallen trees were covered in food-roosted roots, berry pies, honey-glazed nuts. Animals from every part of the forest gathered beneath lanterns made of dried squash. Laughter echoed through the trees. Music filled the air. Remy stood in the middle of it all, eyes wide with wonder. He hadn't just grown a garden, he had grown a community. And somewhere, in the gentle rustle of the trees, he could almost hear his grandmother's voice whispering, "You never know when the world will need growing." Moral: even the smallest among us can spark the greatest change. Kindness like seeds takes time, care, and patience. But when shared, it can turn even the driest lands into blooming, beautiful worlds.